Can you see how a society based on that as value would be off the charts compared to what we experience today? Now, some people might say, well, that's a utopian vision and that can never happen. But watch. It may take 1,000 years before civilization as a whole gets there. But the thing is, it doesn't have to take 1,000 years for you to get there. Welcome to Worthiness Wednesday. I'm Perry Gruber, the Enlightenment Guy. As you know, if you've been watching my videos for over more than a decade, I've helped people master their mindsets so they can create lives they love and get results without the burnout or the hustle. And today I'm doing a Worthiness Wednesday video to dovetail with the AI and Spirit video that published on Monday. In this video, I want to talk about the same thing I talked about on Monday, but from the perspective of worthiness. What I shared on Monday was a checklist that my good friend Mark had asked me to provide after I told him that the two supersonic tsunamis that are coming, the first one being artificial intelligence, the second one being humanoid robots, these two supersonic, why am I having trouble saying that word? Supersonic tsunamis, these two supersonic tsunamis are going to completely change the social contract. First, by eliminating nearly all human labor opportunities. And when I was describing this to my friend Mark, he said, so where are people going to derive their value from? What's the checklist? And the checklist that I shared with him caused him to respond to me by saying, I love that. I even consider number 1 and number 2 in the checklist tied for the top. So let's take a look at the checklist from the positively focused Worthiness Wednesday perspective. But first, let's talk a little bit about worthiness. I haven't talked about this specifically for a little while. What is worthiness? Worthiness is a state of being. It's a state of being that hardly anyone on the planet currently enjoys. But what's interesting about that is that it's a dichotomy. While hardly anybody enjoys feeling worthy, worthiness is inherent in each and every one of us. Worthiness is what shows up as a feeling, an emotion, when we realize that we are at the center of the universe. And as a result of that, the universe is constantly bending over to give us everything that we want without any effort on our part. Now, if you just had a negative reaction to what I just said, if you want to cry out bullshit, this is why people don't experience, your reaction is why people don't experience this state of worthiness I'm talking about, is because most human beings, this will be obvious as I explain it, most human beings do not believe that they're at the center of the universe and that the universe is giving them everything they want without them having to do anything to get it. That should be obvious. That's why people work. That's why people struggle. That's why people put their nose to the grindstone. It's why people yearn. It's because they don't have this sense of worthiness. And the interesting thing about worthiness is you can't manufacture it. It's inherent within you. If you're not feeling worthy, it's only because you don't believe you're worthy. But you can't even manufacture belief in worthiness. The experience of worthiness as an emotional state, as a state of being, naturally surfaces when you have perceived in your life experience many, many instances of what I said 5 minutes ago. What I said 5 minutes ago is you're at the center of the universe, and the universe is bending backwards to give you everything that you want without you having to do anything to realize those things. When you have had many, many instances demonstrating, many, many examples demonstrating that that is true, that that is how the universe is organized, then what naturally emerges from within you is this feeling of worthiness. You feel swaddled in grace. You feel blessed. Grace and blessed are the same thing, as the same energy state, the same vibration as worthy. So it's a paradox, isn't it? Most people are not moving through the world with an understanding that the universe is giving them everything they want. Most people have allowed themselves to accept beliefs that block their worthiness. And as a result of accepting those beliefs, they don't feel worthy. And as a result of not feeling worthy, this is so good, they live a life experience where they have to work hard to get what they want. And in some cases, even when they work hard, they don't get what they want. So if you heard what I just said, then you can see how important realizing your worthiness is. Because if the universe is bending over backwards to give you everything you want without you having to work hard to do anything actually to get it, if that's what the universe is doing, but if you can't have that experience unless you develop the experience of worthiness, then you can't have a life experience that supports what's actually going on in the universe. Instead, you get a reality that confirms your beliefs. So this is the thing, right? Your worthiness is inherent. It's in there. It's in you. But you have free will as a God in human form. You're in this life experience as a training ground to enable you to realize your godhood. And you move through many, many lifetimes which help you realize more and more incrementally that that's what you are, a God in human form. And eventually you get to the point where you no longer need a life experience. You no longer need to come into a physical reality as a human, because then you're ready to express yourself fully as the God that you are. Fully is a misnomer because you are forever becoming. So in this training ground experience, you have the opportunity to experience the fullness of your worthiness. But in order to experience that, and again, I want to redefine it because it's important. Worthiness occurs when you have many, many instances proving to you that you are at the center of the universe and that the universe is bending over backward to give you everything that you want without you having to do anything to get those things. When you have many, many instances of that experience, you cannot help but feel worthy. And then when you feel worthy, because you've had many, many instances of this experience, more of those experiences occur for you, because that is the state of momentum. That's what happens when you become worthy. You begin to see this happening all over your life experience. So that's what worthiness is. Worthiness is a critical component to being able to move into the future we're moving into, that's being created through the technological singularity, which is actually a spiritual inflection point. So your worthiness is critical. And it is from your worthiness, I need to clear my throat. It is from your worthiness that you will be maximally aligned with the state of physical reality that technologists are calling the sustainable abundant economy, or this technological future. Some people are calling it the Star Trek future. And this is why I'm saying it's so important to uncover your worthiness. And it literally is a job of uncovering because it's inherent within you. You have beliefs that are blocking your realization of your worthiness. And every one of I know this is accurate because every one of my clients, well, first of all, I'm having it in my own experience and my origin story. The way I've come to this realization proves to me that everything I'm telling you is accurate. But I also have the evidence that my clients are creating, which are dovetailing perfectly with what my own personal experience is. So this future we're moving into is a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate to you your inherent worthiness. And so when I was talking with my friend Mark about this future that's coming as a result of these two supersonic tsunamis, when I was telling him about this future that was coming as a result of these two tsunamis, he asked me, he said, what do you think the value checklist is if the value of companies as a whole is going to go away, and people really need to understand the actual value they create beyond jobs? That was a question he was asking. He said, people are going to really need to understand the actual value they create at their jobs. But I said, I go a step further. I suggest people are going to have to understand their value isn't about production or achievement. And he responded by saying in this text conversation, what do you think the value checklist looks like? And what I told him were the 3 checklist items that I believe the future is going to hinge on for humanity. And then I expressed what the mission of humanity was all about moving forward as we come into this technological singularity. So let me share with you, if you didn't watch the AI and Spirit episode that published on Monday, let me share with you what I believe. It's not what I believe, it's what I know is the value checklist for the future. Checklist item number 1 is discovering your inherent value, your worthiness. Just your inherent value, I said, it lies in just being, loving, caring, and appreciating self. Your inherent value lies in just being yourself. Your value is inherent in being yourself, in loving yourself, in caring for yourself, in appreciating yourself. This is the first value checklist, the checklist item. So many people are moving through the world trying to accomplish things, working hard, putting their nose to the grindstone, putting other people before them, putting people on a pedestal, trying to be humble. And in so doing, they are diminishing, they are disparaging the self. This is why so many people are numbing themselves with things like alcohol, tobacco, indulgence in sporting events, streaming services, doom scrolling, and social media, because they have so disconnected from their inherent value, their self-worth, that they have to do something to numb the pain that shows up in being disconnected. That pain, by the way, is positive. It's an indicator trying to get those people to do something to rediscover their inherent value, their worth. But most human beings don't know something like what my clients know, and so they have no recourse but to try to numb the pain because they don't know how to alleviate themselves from the pain. The pain I'm talking about is predominantly spiritual, but since many people don't really get that all physical reality is spiritual, they believe instead that the pain they're experiencing is psychological or emotional. So the first item on the checklist of the future that shows where value is going to come, that reveals where value is first discovering your inherent value just by being with yourself, loving yourself, caring for yourself, and appreciating yourself. So that's the first one. The second item on the checklist is doing everything I just said, except doing it for others. And this is really challenging, especially for Americans. It's really challenging to look at another and to see in another yourself. But if you've listened to these videos on this Positively Focused YouTube channel, then you know that there's no one else in your reality but you. And the people you come into contact with in your life experience, they are reflections of what's going on inside of you. So they are literally, other people are literally yourself projected out of you, reflecting you back to you so that you can do something. Why are they there? So that you can see what's going on in you and do something about what's going on inside of you. What there is to do is a subject for a different video. So the second thing on the checklist is the same as the first thing on the checklist, except you're expressing it for others. And it's a paradox, right? Because if you accomplish the first item on the checklist, which is discovering your inherent value just by being with yourself, loving yourself, caring for yourself, and appreciating yourself, if you do that and then you extend that to others, then you develop a new kind of relationship with other beings by seeing them as you. It's very similar. The concept is very similar to the statements in the Bible where I think it's Jesus or maybe God. I don't remember what I read in the Bible. It's been so long, but it says something like, wherever you see such a person, that's where I am. Another phrase from the Bible, I think, is something like, man was created in God's image. That phrase does not mean that God has 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. What it means is every one of us at essence is God. And so when you're interacting with another person, I'm talking about the checklist now, when you're interacting with another person, the opportunity there is to be with that person, to love that person, take care about that person, and to appreciate that person as you do so for yourself. And if you think about what I just said, very few people are doing that. But my clients are learning how to do it. And that's why their lives are catching fire. That's why they're finding so much joy, freedom, empowerment, and sovereignty in their lives. So, the first item on the checklist, discover your inherent value and amplify it just by being with yourself, loving yourself, caring for yourself, and appreciating yourself. The second item on the checklist, we can call this the worthiness checklist. It's the same as the first item on the checklist, except you're doing it for others. It's being with others, loving others, caring for others, and appreciating others as yourself. And then the third item on the checklist is a result of the first 2 items. When you have the first 2 items in place, the third checklist item kind of comes out as a natural result. And that is, every human interaction, therefore, becomes an exchange of immense value. Now think about this. If you're realizing the love and appreciation, care and being of yourself, and you're being that exact same way with another, and that person is doing the same thing with themselves and doing the same thing with you, that interchange between the two of you, what would that interchange be like? And what is the value of that interchange? That interchange is off the charts. It is I want to say, but my broader perspective is saying there's more, even more than what you're about to say. So I'll say it this way. That interchange represents an extremely high state of love. And there's nothing more valuable in the universe than that. It's more valuable than money. It's more valuable than time. It's more valuable than friendships. It's more valuable than family. It's more valuable than air. This love exchanged between two people, recognizing that each one of those two people are recognizing in the other and in themselves that they are worthy. Can you see how a society based on that as value would be off the charts compared to what we experience today? Now, some people might say, well, that's a utopian vision and that can never happen. But watch. It may take 1,000 years before civilization as a whole gets there. But the thing is, it doesn't have to take 1,000 years for you to get there. My clients are discovering it just takes a few years. It takes some years. It takes some years because you have to unpack and then soothe all the beliefs that are blocking you from recognizing that you're worthy of appreciation. You're worthy of your own appreciation. You're worthy of your own love. You're worthy of your own care. And you're worthy of being with yourself. And then it takes a few years to figure out that other people are worthy of your love, your care, your being, and your appreciation. The thing is, you don't have to wait for the entire civilization to embrace these checklist items in order for you to have the joyful, rambunctious, adventurous life that comes from embracing these checklist items. You can do it starting now. And my clients have been doing it for years. And it's no wonder that they keep coming back because it feels so good. So those are the 3 items on the checklist. When I shared this with my friend, he wrote back and said, I love that. I'd even consider number 1 and number 2 being tied at the top. And I agree with him. There really is no checklist. There really are no 3 items. It's all one. That's a paradox, but if you can wrap your head around that, you can see exactly what my friend Mark discovered, because he's right. So now, with these 3 checklist items, once you are in the process of fulfilling them ongoing in your life, you then come to the purpose of this physical reality beyond earning a living. And the purpose, as I shared it with my friend Mark, is living a life of joyful exploration and adventure, soaking up as many experiences as possible. Now, in a world where, let's just say, the majority of jobs are being performed in the knowledge worker world by artificial intelligence, and in the blue-collar world by humanoid robots and other form factor automated systems, what is there left to do other than living a life of joyful exploration and adventure, soaking up as many experiences as possible, especially as a result of artificial intelligence and these humanoid robots and other form factors creating an abundance of goods and services, all of which are extremely cheap or free because you don't have to pay human labor to do those things. There's nothing else to do other than to enjoy life as an exploration and an accumulation of experiences, all had in the state of worthiness, which has the subcomponents of love, being, appreciation, and care. Oh, there is nothing like that, you guys. Now, if you want to find out how to achieve these 3 elements on the checklist, I encourage you to consider becoming a client. If you're not ready to do that, you can test drive a client session with me by using the link in the description. Or you can keep on watching these videos. Every other week on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, I do a live video in which I offer instruction on how to realize the 3 items on this checklist, which ultimately is about how to realize your worthiness, how to uncover the worthiness that is inherent within you. And oh my gosh, viewer, you are so worthy. And the universe is dying to bring you everything you want without any effort on your part. Want to know more? Continue watching these videos. If you're really eager and you can't wait for the videos, consider becoming a client. The link is in the description. I've said my piece. I'll see you in the next video.